Did you say you're starting the Facebook live stream?
Yes.
Okay.
It has started, hon.
Okay.
I shouldn't say hun in a professional environment.
We'll let it slide.
Yes.
Yeah. I see you live.
Okay.
Well, let me mute it.
Okay. Well, the students are coming in. Yep. Let me get these students in.
Oh, that's a good group.
బిగ్నం అదే ఎక్కువ మందికి పంపించారు అది.
I believe this group is from the MBAI, Judson University MBAI program. Let's see. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. I think your director is joining us as well. There she is.
Mhm.
You know all these people?
Yeah, here they are. Okay, hold on a second. It's Kristen Egan.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Karen Love, and I'm the program chair of the MBA program at Judson University, as well as the COO of the Love Family Christian Foundation. And I'm also moderator and administrator tonight. Tonight, I am celebrating the first 2026 discussion forum or fireside chat for the MBA program. And I'm honored to welcome to the platform Jerry DeRusha, CEO, innovator. 1 second. Innovator, engineer, entrepreneur, and designer. Tonight is about cross-pollination, where we're going to bring students together and scholars and practitioners and creators from many disciplines. As you can see, people are waiting to get in here. Your questions and your ideas and perspectives will help illuminate how work happens at the intersection of theory and practice. So let's all welcome Jerry DeRusha to the platform.
Thank you.
Very good. I'd like to take a minute to introduce Jerry DeRusha to all of you. There are so many descriptives about Jerry that I wanted to share with you. So if you give me 1 second, I am going to also, allow these people to enter in. So many descriptives of Jerry, CEO, co-owner, entrepreneur, engineer, and innovator. He was born and raised in a small town. His father had an 8th grade education, but built and owned one of the largest privately owned military shipyards in the country. He had 3 brothers, all with engineering degrees. He says, hence it was a foregone conclusion that he was going into engineering. He says, I had a successful career in athletics and was offered the opportunity to play football at Michigan State University. And apparently at that time, it wasn't conducive to his academic pursuit. But so then after that, after driving a dump truck for 9 months, he realized how important education was for his future. So he enrolled in Northern Michigan University and worked his way into their engineering program, design and marketing minors. He said during his last year of school, I'm really getting good at this, okay. During his last year of school, he began working part-time for a company that had ground support equipment. His role was to document and formalize products that had already been built, As the company was small, he served as the sole engineer and draftman on staff. But upon graduation in 1987, the owner of the company brought him in full time. He said through poor management, the company was bankrupt by 1991 and he was out of a job. So he started his own business to support products that they produce at the bankrupt company. It was a slow start. It was underfunded and it required a lot of travel. But by 2001, they were the largest producer of aircraft de-icers in the US. In 2016, he was approached by a large multinational company that through acquisition wanted to get into the ground support market. He said the business sold in 2016, and of course he was too young to retire. So in 2018, he purchased controlling interest in a composite deck manufacturer. Jerry continues to live in Menominee with his lovely and beautiful wife, Terry, and a dog named Lily. They have 5 wonderful children, 3 grandchildren, and most importantly, he is happy and content. So before we start our fireside chat with Jerry DeRusha, I'd like to turn your attention to some housekeeping items so that we can stay on time, stay on point, be clear about discussion, and you will come away with many objectives. So our aim for this presentation is about 40 minutes with a Q&A session at the end. This invitation is aired on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and later on LinkedIn. So you can put your remarks on Facebook and LinkedIn beyond today's call. Please keep your microphones muted so that when you're not talking, we want to minimize the background noise. And then if you have any questions, please raise your hand to cue me in, and I will allow your questions to come in. So Jerry, thank you so much for being with us. I'm a little nervous about this right now. I don't know why. Just breathe. I am so excited to have the Judson students here as well, and some of the faculty here, because I think it's so important for these students to have an opportunity to network with someone who is a proven product within the capitalism sphere and has done well. It is always good to hear these stories so that there are just nuggets of wisdom and advice we can all take with us, and we can do things, apply it, is relevant, and move forward in our professions and any academic pursuits we may have. So Jerry, I am going to leave the floor to you as I am navigating these students. 1 second here. Oh my, something's happening here. My apologies, everyone. Give me 1 second, please. Okay. I am going to put up the slides here. Okay, here we are. Jerry, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be able to participate in this. I come from, it was a great introduction. I come from kind of an old school management type background. As you indicated, my dad had an 8th grade education. So although he was very successful in life, he had a sore back every night because he did things more physically than he did mentally or scholastically. So that's what I grew up with. And as a result of that, commitment, drive, a stick-to-itiveness and a hard work ethic was something that came easy to me because you didn't have a lot of free time around our house. We were always working on something. So this is quite an honor to be able to tell my story to a group of enthusiastic young people who are just getting the teeing it up for the first hole on 18 and have their whole life in front of them.
Now I'm going to drop the slides for you. So tell me when you're ready for me to switch.
You can switch anytime.
Okay, so I have pictures here.
Yeah, these are pictures of, I started a de-icer company when I was 26 years old. And when I look back on it now, I think, what the heck was I thinking being going to go into something like this? Because you're dealing with a large, with all large companies where you have to have good funding and they're relying on you to get airplanes off the ground. And if they don't get off the ground, there's a tremendous expense that they have to pay, in addition to people in the airplane that are going to see grandma for Christmas and they don't make it. So it was a lot of responsibility, and I took it very seriously and probably overworked. But these are some of the trucks that we built and delivered all around the world, from Belarus to China to Kazakhstan to Australia. We had the very first brand new de-icers ever purchased in Australia.
Okay. Next slide.
This is a slide of the composite decking company that I am involved with, and we have some very unique products. The composite decking industry has really grown over the last 10 or 12 years, and COVID helped that a lot, where the price of wood became so high because of various different functions that people weren't able to do some of the treatment of regular lumber, and composite deck was still considered at the time a necessity. And so as awkward as it may sound, COVID really helped business grow, and it's been very successful since then.
Okay. All right. Jerry, tell us about a pivotal moment where your engineering perspective materially changed the marketing or go-to-market outcome.
Well, when I first got into the de-icer business, I had a very strong mechanical background. When I was young, we worked on everything from cars to boats to motorcycles to any number of different things. And part of the design parameters at the time were to make everything smaller and more compact. You have to realize this was in the mid 80s, and cars got smaller, more efficient. And I really had a hard time learning how to work on a lot of that stuff. So when I decided to design a de-icer, what I did is I started from the outside and worked in. And that might be a foreign concept to some people, but what that did was it meant that the last piece that you put in was right in the middle of the truck. So that if that part failed, you didn't have to take everything else out to remove that particular piece. That to me was going to really be attractive to mechanics that had to work on the thing. So that was my big design change, opposed to everything else that was in the industry. We had to be reliable in our operation. We took some big steps or some big chances where we offered a 3-year warranty, and our competitors were all providing a 1-year warranty. And then we offered a 1-hour service pledge. And part of that was we were using more off-the-shelf components. And this was a design concept, to use off-the-shelf components that were available throughout the country, as opposed to proprietary parts that were only built by us for our equipment that somebody would have to come back to us. At the time, a lot of the other manufacturers were really making a lot of money because people had to come back to them for parts. My thought was, I don't care where they get the spare parts. I want their truck to work when they need it. So we differentiated ourselves from our competitors based on the design, based on the warranty, and based on the 1-hour service guarantee.
Okay.
The second step was, in trying to introduce these products, there were about 25 major airports north of the 40th parallel. And when I say north of the 40th parallel, that's really kind of the de-icing line where they're doing considerable amount of de-icing. Down in they de-ice down in Atlanta and Dallas, but that's once or twice a year. So historically, our competitors, and there were 3 other competitors in the industry at the time, they focused all on the major airports because at the time, the major airlines would buy new de-icers, put them in their hubs, the major airports, and then they take old equipment and push it out to the outer regional airports. There were 2,200 regional airports above the 40th parallel. So my customer targeting was, I want to target getting into those. If I can get 10% of 2,200, it's going to be a lot better than 20% of 25 major airports. And so we approached some of the airlines with the idea of, look, we're going to give you a brand new truck that's going to be smaller, more cost efficient, cost effective. And we're going to put them in the outstation where you don't have mechanics, and you can keep the older trucks in the areas like Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, where you have a really good mechanic base to keep them running. And ironically, United Airlines in 1996 said, you know what, that's a good idea. And they gave us an order for 64 trucks, which literally, I took a phone call out in the shop on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and they told me that they had just placed, or they're placing the order for 64 trucks, and I dropped my dentures. So then we had to build them. And, you know, back then, if you realize back then, there was no internet. Fax machine was new technology at the time. And so a lot of what we had to do was face to face. You had to fly all over the country to meet these people. And so it was a much different, I don't necessarily want to say a slower time, but it was a much different building customer relations environment.
I want to tease this a little bit because I hear a lot of strategy involved and embedded in this first question. So I just want to tease this a little bit. Can we go back? What motivated you to go into the engineering industry besides your brothers? And how did you learn how to successfully plot out the strategies for success at this point in your life?
Interestingly enough, the engineering part really wasn't an option. That would be like a military family saying, well, you're going into the military. So my dad kind of, and I had meetings with my older brothers, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of the conversations were tailored around, well, there's a lot of good engineering schools, but we think you should go to an engineering school that has good humanities classes so that you learn how to deal with people.
Sure.
And Marinette Marine at the time employed about 600 employees, had a big engineering firm, and there were a lot of great engineers that you really had a hard time carrying on a conversation with them because they were so technical and so oriented on that part of the business. And so I got that. I understood what that was. I mean, I was accepted to go to Michigan Tech, which was one of the best engineering schools in the country. And they talked me out of going there. And so as far as the strategy, when you sit down and you look at it and you think, there's 3 companies that have been in business for a lot of years selling de-icers, and they kind of have a lock on the market. Well, what can I offer as the new guy on the block who's, I mean, I started this company with $2,200. That was it. And never had to take a bank loan other than when I bought a building. So what was going to differentiate me between them? And, you know, a 3-year warranty was a big gamble. A 1-hour service guarantee was a big gamble. And it sounds good on paper. And at the end of the day, most people forgot after the first year that they had 2 more years on their warranty because everybody else had been a 1-year warranty for all these years. So they would call up and buy parts. You know, and honestly, it was not a bait and switch. It was something to be noticed. And once I had my foot in the door, I wasn't going to screw it up.
Yeah. It sounds like you were in an environment where success was definitely cultivated within that discipline of engineering. So that's what I wanted to tease that out a little bit because it sounds like very successful strategies, and I didn't want anybody to get the idea that you just jump into success. No, it's a process that happens along the way. So thank you for sharing that. Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, very good. So when engineering constraints collide with customer demands, how do you decide what to prioritize?
For me, it was protecting the integrity of the system first, because there were de-icers out there that were fundamentally different than ours, that some of the mechanics were very comfortable with that particular product and that the way that that one operated. And so it was oftentimes hard to get them to switch to something that they didn't know anything about. And ironically enough, the younger guys who said, yeah, I want to learn this one, all of a sudden they had a ton of job security. So part of it is separating what the customer wants from what they need. So there's always a ton of wants, and trying to determine from those wants what they actually need for a functional product is limited by the pain points. What pain points do they have?
Yes.
So engineers typically are a strange breed, and I know because I are one, but they become very proud of their designs. So when a customer comes in and says, well, we want to see this differently. I struggled through that. I thought we had the best designed de-icer in the industry, and we were, there was nothing that could be better than what I had designed. And as a young person in that capacity, I put up more resistance than I should have. And it finally came to almost an epiphany where I thought, if this is a good customer and this is what they want, why am I fighting it? I'm just going to build what they want and give it to them. And some of that came down to something so simple. Our de-icer was what was called an instant heat de-icer. Everybody else had a truck that they would circulate through it, fluid through a million BTU heater. They'd circulate it through and fill up the tank, and it would take about an hour to an hour and a half to heat the tank. Ours, we put 3.6 million BTUs to 4.2 million BTUs. And when you would open the gun, hot water would come out for as long as that gun was open. And we had Southwest Airlines who came in and said, well, we want it to still be instant heat, but we want to take when the gun is closed and recirculate it back to the tank. And it contaminated what I thought was a good design, but we eventually changed it, and they became our single biggest customer, which Southwest Airlines is the single biggest aircraft company, and they fly more people in the United States than anybody else. Other things that would change in the design characteristics, new airplanes were coming out, A380, the 787. And so we had to look at how does our truck match up, and does it fit the model for these particular new aircraft? And so we had design changes for that. Technology. There were always different fluids coming out that would have better holdover time. So typically it's a ethylene or propylene glycol they spray on the plane. It de-ices the wing, but you have a limited holdover time depending on the ambient conditions. It could be from 8 minutes to 17 minutes. So they came out with new fluid that would give you a longer holdover time, required all kinds of different pumping systems. And then for a while, there was an edict in the industry that they could cut down on employees if they went with a one-man drive system, where a guy would sit in the basket of the truck and he could drive the whole truck and de-ice at the same time. So we always had something new that was coming down the pipe that the airline would ask us to do. excuse me. And you know, if you didn't do it, you were out of the question. You were no longer considered. So we had things that the airlines would force us into doing, some good ideas and some not so good ideas. But at the underlying fabric of what we did had to protect the integrity of the system. That was non-negotiable. Changes that met their requirement that didn't affect the integrity of the system, I was absolutely fine with that.
Okay. Okay. How much time within that industry do you spend on identifying any of the latent needs? You identify the customer pain points and they can clearly articulate their needs. But how much time in that industry did you spend on identifying those latent needs that the customer needed as well? Was that part of the formula?
Yeah, it was. But each airline was a little bit different. And so, you know, there were some airlines that were really going in one direction, and some airlines that wanted to stay with the simplicity of a de-icer like we built that was easy to maintain and easy to operate. Others wanted the drive from the basket and extendable spray nozzles and all kinds of other things. And so we had to pick a lane and try and stay in that lane that, as I've said now a couple of times, that maintained the integrity of our design to start with. And that, to me, helped us out a lot because we weren't chasing a red herring all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't lose the connection, did I? It was very quiet on that end. So is everybody connected? Shake your heads, please.
I'm here.
Right. You can hear. All right. All right. All right. I want to go into mental models, which I thought was really interesting as I was doing some of the research, because when I think of mental models, I think of mental models in terms of mental biases or some of the presuppositions that are actually barriers and when you're trying to produce a product or service. And so within the engineering industry, I'd like to ask you to talk specifically about the frameworks or mental models you use to translate product engineering data into marketing strategies.
Well, I really used a small set of mental models rather than a single framework, because translating engineering data into marketing decisions can really be about interpretation and not reporting. So I learned engineering data by itself doesn't mean much to the outside the building. It tells you what's happening, failure rates, service rates, uptime, throughput, but customers don't buy numbers. They buy relief. And that's a slippery slope when you try and get into explaining things to people who don't understand what you're talking about. They don't translate very well, and they get confused. It's like kind of trying to explain something to Michael Scott. That's an office remedy, but the next thing I focus on understanding the limits of the product. Every design has non-negotiable safety margins, physical realities, service access. Rather than pretending that those don't exist, we're upfront about how we deal with them better than anyone. We were always upfront about how we deal with them better than anyone else. Instead of selling features, we explain why the product holds up in the real world use. And the change in conversation from what the product looks like on paper to what it actually works like when it's cold, busy, and you're overwhelmed and things go wrong. That's what they wanted to know. Is it going to be reliable?
Okay.
And we always promoted to the airlines to come to us with changes they would like. we didn't always agree with the changes that they liked, and
Mhm.
some of them were experimenting, but in more cases than not, the result was customers agreeing that they didn't really need it. So here's a quick example. So American Airlines approached us at one, or I'm sorry, Southwest Airlines approached us at one time, and they had an edict that had come down from upper level management to reduce the amount of employees. So they wanted to go with a one-man drive truck, and we didn't have one. And the director of ground support equipment came to me and said, well, we're going to have a symposium down at Midway Airport where we're going to bring 40 different stations in. You got 30 days to develop a one-man drive system. So we did. Brought it down there, and they had a unique way, and this is not uncommon in the airline industry. They have a unique way of testing equipment, and that is we drop the truck off, and then you can't have any salespeople there. They do all the training, and they bring all their outstation people in, and they run the machines. And so 2 days later, I get a call from the director, and he said, well, I got good news and bad news. I said, what's the good news? And he said, the good news is, of the 40 people that came in, all 40 picked your truck. And I said, okay. I said, what's the bad news? And he said, there's no way we're going to do this. We don't want a one-man drive. Everybody agreed we don't. Of the trucks that we tried, yours was the best, but we don't want to do it. So, it's part of this technology that they think they need that they didn't really need.
Mhm. And I know that's getting into the minutia because of your C-suite position. And so asking about those mental models. So in academia, we study different mental models. And so it's like, so is there a particular framework? But as I hear you talking, it really is about what the customer wants and how you proactively react to the customer needs to get to that level of success.
Right. And the operative word is react.
Mm-hmm.
How do you react when they have a pain point or they have a design that they want to change? And can you make them feel comfortable with the effort that you're putting into it to determine, is it something they really want or do they not want it?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you mean I wasted all of my time with this AARR, acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue? Leva said, I have to know that framework. So let's talk about cross-functional teams. Let me get through here so students can have time to ask the questions. So how do you design cross-functional teams? So product engineering and marketing move as one unit rather than in silos.
Well, I'm a terrible example of that. And part of the reason for that is being an entrepreneur in a small business and dealing with the customer base that I had. The people that I had to deal with wanted to talk to decision makers, whether it was purchasing, whether it was engineering, whether it was mechanics. And as a result, that was me. And so, believe it or not, I mean, I started the business in 1991. We got up to $25 million a year in sales. I was the only salesman. I was really the designer of all of the equipment and all of the changes in the equipment. We had draftspeople and we had people in our engineering department that did electrical drawings and things like that. And I'm not boasting on that. I'm just saying that when it came time that I had to go have a meeting, whether it was with engineering or whomever it was, I was the guy that had to be there to answer questions. And with the decking company, it's different because I came into a culture and to a business that was already established. And it's honestly much easier because I can sit back now and have a president or a VP of sales go out and talk to people, and they don't expect me to be at these meetings, and they bring back, it creates a buffer. They bring back the questions that they're asking, whether it's pricing or development of a new product or various different things, and it gives me time to react to it and provide a response. It's a lot harder when you're sitting there and they ask you a question and you have to be on your game and you have to know the answer right then, because if you don't, they start to lose confidence in you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a dissertation student who wanted to research siloed leadership, and she actually put a replica of a farm together. And with the silos, she talked about how the toxicity builds up over time because of lack of communication. And so I was always interested. So how do you communicate between the hard science of the product and marketing, which is a soft skill? So thank you for that. Thank you for that, because people typically want to go to the decision maker, but if you don't equip the decision maker with the adequate information, then confidence
Right
is
now,
lost.
with the
Right?
decking company, it's completely different because we meet
Okay.
every single day. We understand what their challenges. I understand what their challenges are, and sometimes people can. If you're in marketing, you can focus on marketing. If you're in sales, you focus on sales, and to a certain extent, I find that you can lose a little bit of vision of the actual direction that we have to go because you get so focused on one thing, on a particular customer or on a particular design change or
And
a particular marketing scheme. And sitting off to the side a little bit and not being involved in all these conversations, I can bring that back together and say, well, hey, we're wasting too much time on this. Let's move forward on what's important, and that's the vision of the organization.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. The reiterations of the vision is so important. It is so important. Yes. I'm going to move forward so that I can make sure everyone has time to ask their questions. And this is concerning the growth of the product. Let's see here. Describe the growth of product experiment that failed. What did you learn? And what processes did you change as a result?
Well, again, my development or direction was largely driven by the customer.
Mhm.
As a result, we didn't typically develop a solution for a problem that didn't exist. And I think that was unique compared to the other companies because they were always trying to lead the way into something that the airline wasn't asking for.
Mm.
We did hop into that arena one time and we designed what we called a guardian angel system in between 1999 and 2000. And we put several $100,000 into this. And what it was a forethought for a monitoring system that could monitor 29 different functions of the de-icer, and it had a phone modem in it. So all of that data was accessible from our office in Marinette, Wisconsin, no matter where the truck was in the country. And we could go on and we could look at what was going on with the de-icer. We could troubleshoot problems with the de-icer, and we could make slight changes. For example, if they called up and said, well, the aerial lift is going too fast, we could change the speed of the aerial lift. And the operators didn't see a use for it. The mechanics didn't like it because it made it more complicated. And so it just didn't work. And then 9/11 came along and we kind of tabled this whole thing. And then all of a sudden in 2009, other companies were coming up with similar things. And then the airline had an interest in it again. It was a correct product. It was just the wrong time. And it was a good lesson for me because I got a little over my skis thinking, well, I'm going to tell them what they need, even if they don't know they need it. And that didn't work well.
Thank you for your transparency. I'm going to move over to a soft skill people development question here. So how do you hire and develop people who can bridge technical depth and commercial thinking?
Well, part of the interview process that we look at is some people interview well, some don't. 70%, I would say, of the hires that I've had have been based on instinct or my gut feel.
Mhm.
Usually my interviews for other than a mechanic position, is a 3 to 4 hour interview face to face. And that helps to take away the initial energy that somebody has coming into it. Most of the time, what I'll do is I'll tell them something early in the interview, and then I'll reference it towards the end of the interview to see if they recall what I said. Education and background, I typically didn't look for straight A students, probably because I was not a straight A student. But I want to see one that they're educatable. They've gone through college, they've participated in some extracurricular activities. They're a well-rounded person. And then I ask about history of work, and how they explain their previous employers plays big into what I decide to hire. When a guy sits there and says, well, the last company I worked for were a bunch of idiots, that's a big red flag. And then I go into an in-depth explanation of what the culture of the business that we have is, so that I can see if that inspires them, or they light up understanding what we're trying to do as a culture. Culture in a business, especially when you get into an older business where there's a lot of tribal knowledge, I call it, of how things are done. And when you try and make a change and everybody says, well, we've always done it this way, that is one of my pet peeves. So the culture that I really try and promote is change is good. It's going to be difficult, but we have to look at it as an advancement and not a step back. And there's some people who just don't buy into that. Bridging the technical and the commercial, cross training was a big thing. So new engineers spend the first 2 weeks with the sales department. New salespeople spend the first week in the engineering department. They don't get it, but after the week or after the 2 weeks, then they do get it. And 1 week a month for the first year engineers, we'll send them with the sales team to go visit a customer. It's not to participate in the conversation, it's to see what the salesperson has to deal with. And then weekly meetings with sales and engineers and finance to discuss critical issues. I'm a firm believer that engineers aren't the best to run companies, salespeople aren't the best to run companies, and accountants aren't the best to run companies. That starts to limit the scope of who should run a company. But in my opinion, the engineer is probably the best, because the integrity of the machine is what's in the forefront going forward. Salespeople want the sales, accounting just wants to pinch pennies. And so we don't need specialists who stay in their lane. We need people who understand how their decisions affect the business. And that's the biggest critical part of the cross training of engineers, sales, marketing, finance, all of the people.
I have a comment from Dr. Dana Onlyiming. She said, this is excellent to hear, a great strategy. I often hear from students that do not feel they can be authentic in short questions answer type interviews. So great strategy. That's great feedback. Yes. Here, so I am going to skip. Okay. All right. Your 3 practical habits or skills. So what should they take away and build immediately if they want to explore the possibility of owning or leading a company that blends engineering and marketing?
Well, I'm going to go a little deeper first, because it doesn't matter if you're a PhD, an MBA, a BA, or anyone starting to start a business, own a business. You have to first accept these ideas. One, this is not a 9 to 5 job. No one will complain if you're the first one there and the last one to leave at the end of the day. And it really does set an invaluable standard. You're the top of the pyramid. Everyone will expect you to have the answers, and this cannot be understated. It was a tough lesson for me starting my own business, coming from a company where if we had a problem, I had somebody that I could ask for a solution. When you're the top dog, all the eyes turn to you. And finally, you're going to be expected to design and promote a culture. Do as I say, not as I do, does not work when you're the CEO and the owner. So engineering and technical marketing is customer focused. You must be able to have in-depth knowledge of both. You serve as the primary link between both departments and are responsible for ensuring that they aligned and communicate effectively. If misalignment exists, it's your responsibility to identify the gap and drive to a resolution. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about with putting engineers and salespeople together, because engineers have a tendency to be data driven and salespeople have a tendency to be customer relation driven. And unless the two of them are working in concert, they're always banging heads. You'll be expected to work directly with production, engineering, finance, multiple departments within the customer's organization. Decisions should be informed by firsthand experience and operational understanding, not solely financial reports and technical data. And then this is the other one that I think is such a huge learning lesson as you get into business. Don't compromise great for perfect. If you wait till it's perfect, you've missed your opportunity. And so a lot of decisions have to be made based on, we're good, we know it's going to work. Is there a better way? Probably. And in most cases, absolutely. But this works, so let's keep going. Most businesses don't suffer from any idea shortage. They suffer from paralysis by analysis. And I know that's an old cliche, but leaders who can, I guess, translate reality into action tend to achieve their expected success. You can't sit around twiddling your thumbs hoping something perfect is going to come along.
Good, very good.
Now, I'm not suggesting you say fire, ready, aim, but
Very good, thank you. Let's talk about the trends here. Looking 3 to 5 years ahead, which technology or marketing trends should future executives prepare for, and how should they adapt today?
well, I think, of course, AI is the biggest trend that we have going in the world over the next 5 years. You know, the biggest obstacle today is understanding the potential and how to glean information. Like, what questions do we really have? How do you pose a question in AI? AI, I think, is going to reduce dramatically R&D on a lot of things, because I think there's multiple sources of information that are going to cut down that. And it's going to be a complete overhaul on our workforce. You know, for the past 25 years, vocational education at the undergraduate level has kind of disappeared, and it's making a rebound now, but there's going to be this distinguished separation between the vocational people and the technical people, that there has to be some cross training in. Training will plateau, and reality will be enhanced. For the last 30 years, focus has been making things cheaper and faster. Products that we use for the last 30, 40 years, like refrigerators and dishwasher, they're now consumable or disposable. I think my expectation is there is a trend going back to that is going to make things last 30 to 40 years again. And And the workforce, I think there's a lot that's going to be said about, I just read an article last night about with Madison coming out of college and how the entry level positions in a lot of areas, how much AI is taking over that. So it's entry and mid-level positions that people are thinking AI is going to take the place of. But at the end of the day, we still have to have personal communication and personal contact with others in order to sell ourselves and to sell a business. The adaptation, this is a difficult question because so much of the industry is specifics. So, for example, shipbuilding, in that industry, you're building things now that are going to take 3 to 4 to 5 years to build. So blow molding is completely different. You're making changes on a daily basis. So I don't have a good answer for how a lot of that is going to change based on AI, based on a 3 to 5 year plan.
Muhammad is tagging in. He wants to tag on to that question. He says, how has AI, modern technology, changed the way businesses compete compared to the past? And I think you touched on that, but if you could expand on that as well.
Well, when Google first came out, that was the end all cure all, that you could go in and ask it a question. I think AI, in my experience, and bear in mind, I'm a little bit old, so I'm not as well versed in it as some of the younger people that we have in the decking business. But they use it for a number of different things. In fact, they hook AI up with Salesforce so that they can put in information. It'll send out a letter to all of our customers of a sale that we're having coming and other things. And it also gives us an opportunity to address areas that we don't have a lot of product knowledge in. So for example, we can use AI to go in and find out where big projects are being built that may need decking. Previously, we've had to pay for subscription or prescriptions for things like, or subscriptions, I should say, for things like SpecLink, which tells you where contracts are coming out for multifamily homes or bigger development areas. We can go right into to AI now and ask what is being built out in the Baltimore area. And it gives us a list of not only what's being built, who the contractors are, or who the general contractors are, names, phone numbers, everything. So scratching the surface on this, I think we're probably 0.25% of what we actually could do with AI. And we don't know what we don't know. It's the known unknown at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the questions that I had is, how do you trust the integrity of the data you're receiving through AI? I actually tested it one time because I was looking at some scriptures from the Bible and they were wrong.
Yeah.
The context was wrong and everything. And I said, how do you trust the integrity of AI? But as long as there are links that you can where you can verify the information, that is very, very helpful along the way.
No, and you're right. So, with things that we're looking at, they're measurable. In other words, if it says ABC builders are building this and we call them and they say, no, we're not doing that, then we know we got sent down a bad trail. But you're right. That's part of the unknown, is what is it actually telling us and how much of it do you believe? You can go on and Google your own name and a bunch of stuff comes up and whether it's right or not. I've gone on and done that in AI, and some things have come up that made me look a lot better than I actually was. So I didn't change them.
Good stuff. All right. I am going to ask you about just some closing remarks, some suggestions on life lessons or wise nuggets and the practicality of your discipline. How do you build the business? How do you become successful? And what are the life lessons that you've learned along the way?
Well, I would say takeaways for success, that what I would call takeaways for success.
Takeaway.
And the only reason I
Yes.
say that is because they work for me.
Mhm.
Success is a relative term, and I think everybody has to determine early on what they deem as success to them. Because I think typically we look at financial, if you make a lot of money, you're successful, but that doesn't make you happy. And if you're working 70 hours a week, are you happy doing that? So the part of that is determining what success is to you and then follow that. And sometimes you find that what you thought was going to make you happy isn't making you happy. Secondly, if you are a CEO or if you start your own business, you always have to remember that you have to be the ballast, not the waves. People are going to look to you for stability in the highs and the lows. I've said this all my life, is the highs are never that high and the lows are never that low. But if you get too rambunctious when it's a high and fall too far low when it's a low, everybody sees that, and it's not a good structure and culture for your organization. You celebrate the wins, you mitigate the losses, but you stay calm and steady through all of it. Another thing is, say what you mean and mean what you say. I know this is another cliche, but in business, many people tell customers what they think they want to hear. When you make a commitment, let it be calculated, but then do everything in your power to follow through on that commitment. Credibility in business is your company's greatest asset. Not lastly, but almost lastly, make happiness a priority. I worked 60 to 70 hours a week and I was happy doing it because I loved what I did. There's other people that's not what they want out of life. So part of your success story is what is going to make you happy with your accomplishments. And then lastly, be careful what you wish for because it might come true. Most startup founders dream of growth and financial success, and then all of a sudden you have it. Long hours, constant travel, cash flow anxiety, stress levels that make caffeine look unnecessary. But this is what you signed up for. So there'll be moments when the light at the end of the tunnel looks suspiciously like a train coming at you, and it's not. It just feels that way at the time. The chaos passes, the fog lifts. You just have to stay steady in your commitment to what you're doing, and understand it's all part of the process. If all the times were good, you'd never appreciate them. You got to have some bad times along the way.
Good.
Excellent.
Jerry, I know that we went over with the questions, but I do have questions from some of the students, if you don't mind me asking. I know that it is
I got all
6:57.
night.
Okay, all right. So students and guests, if you have other questions, please feel free to submit them as well. So here's a question from Muhammad Abdul. He says, in terms of finances, how do you address pricing issues when business look for cost cutting? Do we substitute with service over price or use price as a standpoint for better service? So strategy.
That's a very good question. And I think depending on what you're manufacturing, if you're manufacturing solo cups, service isn't really a requirement, and people who buy those are probably looking at price. My strategy always was, when things start to get tough and people start to look at what the costs are and how we can reduce price, my first go-to is to the accounting department and say, okay, give me a copy of all our non-essential spend. We got to figure out where we can cut our cost to help cut cost to the consumer. I will say in the environment that I've been in I'm now involved in three businesses, but my experience is if a customer is happy with what you're doing and how you're doing it, price isn't really the issue. It comes down to the service, the support, and how you make sure that that customer has what he needs when he needs it, not when you can get it to him. So there isn't there's not one form that you go through for all manufacturing of how to address cost constraints from either the buyer or as you, the manufacturer.
Good, thank you. Here's another question from Asim. When you were working with United Airlines, what was the most important factor that helped you win their trust as a new company?
Another good question. I think what I did, which was a little different than the industry standard, is typically what you had to do to sell de-icers in the industry, and this was part of my strategy, was typically you would go to engineering first so they could approve the de-icer. Then it would get pushed up to purchasing and they would make the decision on the de-icer. And the last person involved was maintenance, the people who had to keep it going. What I did is I went into the back door. I went to maintenance first and showed them the truck and showed them the simplicity and how they, you have a competitor that makes a fully hydraulic truck. I mean, you could literally take a picture of that truck and hang it on the wall, and 2 years later, the picture would drip oil. It was just a mess. That's the way those hydraulic pieces are. And so ours wasn't like that, and they loved it. Well, then I went to engineering, and engineering liked what we did. So I had engineering and I had maintenance. Purchasing was just more interested in writing the PO and being done with it so they could get it off their plate and they didn't have to go to engineering and purchase or in maintenance. So that was our strategy and it worked. And ironically enough, at the time, this was 1996, United Airlines was the largest airline in the world. And it was the most bizarre thing. They placed an order for 64 trucks. 2 weeks later, I got a call from American Airlines and they said, we want 20 of the same trucks that United Airlines built, which, is a little bit like the McDonald's Burger King case study where McDonald's would spend all this money to figure out where they were going to put McDonald's and then Burger King would just come by a lot across the street. And so really the way we approached United Airlines and worked ourselves backwards into it was one of the lucky, and believe me, I could have tried that with 5 different companies and it didn't work. We were lucky with United Airlines and that really got the ball rolling.
It's a great segue into the next question. When you were at Michigan Tech, did you know that you were going to build a company that big?
No,
it's a visionary question.
I didn't. I had aspirations, somewhat convoluted with ignorance, but my dad had a business, 3 older brothers got involved in the business, and my goal was, well, I'm going to do okay on my own. During my college years, I would come back and I'd work at Marinette Marine, I'd work at the shipyard in the summer, and got a really good education there because I started in outfit engineering and then I went to mechanical engineering and then I went to electrical engineering. So I had kind of a well-rounded summer classes, and I was going to come back between my junior and senior year to work there, and ended up getting this job at Marquette. And I will say the guy that I worked for in Marquette, his name was Larry Simmons. He started Simmons Airlines. Every time I asked for more work, he gave it to me. He gave me more authority. He gave me everything that he thought I could take. And there's a level of pride in that for me, because as long as he kept giving me things, I wasn't going to let him down. And so there were a lot of nights that I worked all through the night because he'd say, well, there's no way you're going to have this done tomorrow. Well, challenge accepted.
Proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, what parameters should be considered to identify the pain points for a targeted niche?
What parameters? I'm sorry, say that again.
What parameters should be considered to identify the pain points for a targeted niche?
Well, it starts with the integrity of the machine or the integrity of the product. And that's what I always go back to. And I don't know if that's an engineering background or what, but I always go back to the integrity of the product. If somebody has a special niche that they want you to do, for example, the ice trucks, like you showed a picture of, if somebody said, well, I want it on 3 wheels instead of 4, because then we'll be able to turn sharper corners, we would just point blank say, no, it's not going to work. We're not going to do that. We're going to compromise stability. We're going to compromise a lot of other functions of the vehicle. In addition to that is going to be a unit specific chassis. So if it's a Ford chassis or International or Sterling, there are dealers all over the country that we could call on, because we have a truck out in Boise, Idaho that's not running, and the dealer would go over and fix the truck. We didn't have to fly somebody all the way from Marinette, Wisconsin. Once you get into a unit specific chassis, now you're responsible for it. And the worst part of that to me is the truck could be down for 3 days because you can't get there. So for example, the aerial lift that's on that truck that the basket's on, we bought that from a company called VersaLift, which was the largest lift manufacturer in the United States, and they had dealers all over the country. If we had a problem with an aerial lift, we call them and say, you have an hour to get to the truck, and they would get there. And that was part of the service and the support package that we were pioneering at the time, to make sure that if there was a problem with the truck, somebody was there to fix it within an hour.
Okay, very good. Well, we have time for 2 more questions. If there are any questions from the audience, feel
Can I slip
free.
one in? Can I slip
Yes.
one in personally?
Yes.
First of all, let me say thank you, Jerry. This has really been excellent. Just an excellent sharing. My quick question is about your as a founder, the idea and the heart of a founder starting an entrepreneur, starting a business, and the way you walked us through this process of growth and vision casting. How did you know when it was time for you to transition from this business into your next business? Other than you probably got an offer that you couldn't refuse. Uh, what was some of the signals that let you know that it was time to move off of this one and then look for the next opportunity that the Lord might have for you?
You know, that is a great question, because it was actually 25 years to the day from the day that I started the company, or from the day that I started the company till the day that I closed with the new owners. And I was getting tired. You know, we were building 100+ trucks a year out of a small facility. I had looked at, in fact, we had all the design work done for a facility that was going to be twice as big and more set up for production. But it was going to be a $10 million facility. And at 52 years old, I'm thinking, is this something that I want to get into now? I've done okay. And in fact, Terry and I, my wife and I, had talked about kind of paring back and saying, you know, we do a couple $1 million a year just in parts sales. Let's just do that. We'll support these trucks till nobody needs support anymore, and we'll quit building them and just kind of wind this thing down.
Mm-hmm.
And by the grace of God, somebody was looking at me because all of a sudden this company came in and said, we want to buy you. And of course, being a little bit stubborn, I said, well, we're not for sale. So then a couple of weeks later, they came back and said, no, you don't understand. We are going to buy you. And if we don't buy you, we're going to white paper a de-icer and build it ourselves.
Hmm.
Well, that was even more of a challenge. So I said, okay, go ahead. You know, you're not going to get the customer relationship that we have right now, where people were coming to us, Rev, and ordering a case of light bulbs because they knew we'd get the right ones and we'd ship them to them and everything would be fine. That was a relationship we had.
Excellent.
And so the long and the short of it was, about another month later, I was down in Chicago, and a guy called me from Textron and said, you know, can we get together? And I said, sure. And so we met at O'Hare, and he said, just give me a number. And so I went back and I got with my accountant. My accountant said, well, I think the company is worth about this. And I added about 50% to it, not quite 50% to it, and went back to the guy and said, here's a number. And he said, well, I think you're about 50% high. And he said, yeah, you're probably right. But if you want to buy it, that's the number. And a week and a half later, my attorney called me and he said, are you by your computer? And I said, no. And he said, go to your computer. And so I went and sat down, and here was a letter of intent to purchase for asking price. So then I got off my computer and I called Terry and I said, I think we should ask a little bit more. So I was ready. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't ready. And that's why I ended up getting back into another business.
Yeah, excellent.
Yep.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much, Jerry.
One more question.
Okay.
Anyone? Well, all minds and hearts are clear. I don't see anything in the chat box either. Jerry, thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
Thank
This
you.
has been incredible. This has really been incredible. It's given me an opportunity to introduce you to the Judson community as well. And there's so much to learn from your knowledge and your wisdom. And I'm sure there are others who would love to contact you, so I can coordinate that through their program chair. And you know, let's build something greater, because I think that there's innovation and lessons learned. And I also see and can introduce my grandson, our grandson there, Michael J. Love. So everybody. But thanks everyone for coming out tonight. It's been incredible, and the students, I can tell that they learned a lot from you. It's just been an incredible presentation, and I see claps and hearts going on, if you can see them as well, for the presentation. So thanks again. All right.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Bye, Papa.
Bye, Tite.
Thank you for the experience. Good night, everyone.
God bless. Thank you again, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
If I could get this.